Welcome to rSlash Am I the Devil, where OP wants to attack his family Maid. Our next Reddit post is from rSlash Ask Men Advice. I want to have intercourse with my family Maid. Worth it? Firstly, I'm 21 years old and I live in a Middle Eastern country where having maids is common. We have a maid who's been working for us for about 3 years to take care of my elderly grandmother. Although she's in her 40s, she's very, very beautiful. Unfortunately, since we come from a conservative background, our interactions with her are very limited, also due to the language barrier. She speaks my language in very simple terms. Her primary role is to care for my grandmother, my siblings, my mother, and I handle the rest of the house. And she's only there to look after her. Anyways, I'm considering an adult relationship with her. Because of the language barrier, age difference, and nationality, it's very difficult for us to have a romantic relationship. I only want intercourse. It's not very easy because me and her are separated due to my mother's conservative nature. She's a very religious woman. I can only see the maid in the early morning hours, and there's no relationship between us. But for weeks, I've been thinking of ways to approach her sexually, like seducing her, creating an embarrassing situation, or even offering her money. I don't want any approach that would be too suggestive. Whether she consents or is subjected to physical harassment, I respect her greatly, even her refusal. But I'm wondering what the best approach is. If anyone has any suggestions, please share. There's a situation worth mentioning. One of my mother's brothers, my uncle, offered his phone number to the maid. The maid laughed and refused, then jokingly told my mother a few hours later. Because my mother is very suspicious, she told my siblings and me about it. So there's a risk of the maid telling on me. But I'm thinking if money was involved, she might keep quiet. I know it's risky, but I don't mind taking the risk. Also, since I live in a Middle Eastern country where intercourse is very difficult to obtain except through very expensive marriage, this is practically the easiest way. Besides, I like it in every way. This is extremely creepy. The dude says I don't mind the risk as if he's the person who's in danger in this story. Dude really thinks he can seduce someone twice his age who's shown zero signals. Gross and weird. He's like, what's an approach that isn't too suggestive? What if I pay her for it? That's about as overt as it comes. Our next Reddit post comes from rSlash Am I the Butthole. Am I the butthole for telling my wife to leave instead of my parents after they fought about her religion? I'm a 31-year-old guy, and my wife is 29. We've been married a little over a year, but together for 5 overall. My parents are super Christian. I grew up that way, but I don't really practice. A bit more agnostic, but I just kinda go along with whatever to keep my family happy. My wife is Hellenic, and she takes it really seriously. She's got 2 altars in the house, one for Aphrodite in the living room, and another in her walk-in closet for Dionysus. She does festivals, offerings, all that. It's never been an issue for us. My parents have never really liked it though. Even before they moved in. His parents moved in with them? My mom joked once that if we were planning on having gods raise our future kids for us, which I admittedly laughed at. And my dad refused to eat bread that my wife baked at our Christmas dinner a few years ago because it didn't have the proper blessings. Until I pushed him to because it came after one of her holiday things. My mom also said that she's worried about inviting dark spirits in, stuff like that. Anyway, back in April, my dad lost his job and they couldn't pay rent, and their landlord kicked them out. They had nowhere else to go since my sister doesn't have the room and anyone who would take them in lives out of state, so we let them stay with us. It was supposed to be short term, but it's been 4 months now. Since they've been here, it's been a bit of a nightmare. My mom accidentally broke one of my wife's offering bowls in the living room and then said, maybe it's a sign those things shouldn't be out in public where people can see. My dad made a couple of comments about praying for her soul, unprovoked. Then, my mom actually sprinkled holy water around our bedroom and in my wife's closet where she keeps her Dionysus altar. My wife freaked out about that, but my mom said that she was protecting us and our spirits. My wife's been saying for a while that she feels like she's not welcome in her own house. She's cried about it, and we fought about it because she says I don't stick up for her. I get that, but I've done little things, like I've told my parents not to touch her altars. I've made sure they don't rearrange her offerings. I've asked them to leave her room alone. Even quietly told them they're crossing a line when they make comments. It's not like I do nothing. I just try to do it without lashing out, because if I yell it out every time, it'd be a fight every day and nothing would get done. She says that's not enough, and I get that too, but I don't think it's fair for her to say that I don't stick up for her at all. So things have been tense between us. In early July, she wanted to celebrate this festival, Aphrodisia, but that morning, my parents said there was an emergency with their storage unit and they needed her help because she had a car and I'd be at work. She spent the whole day helping and didn't get to do the first day of her celebration and had to cover shifts for her coworker for the next 2 days. My wife didn't really speak to my parents for a bit after that. So last night, she decided to finally do it late. She had a couple of friends over and set up in the living room. My parents walked in halfway through, and my mom said she wasn't comfortable with that sort of thing in the house. And my dad said he wouldn't allow idle false worship under his roof. Pardon? My wife yelled that it's her house too, and they already ruined it for her once. My dad yelled back that she was dragging me away from God. Her friends were sitting there looking uncomfortable, and so was I. I didn't know what to do. Everyone was screaming, and I panicked and told my wife to leave until things calmed down. She just stopped and looked at me, then went upstairs, grabbed some of her things, and left with her friends. My parents were kind of relieved after, like I finally did something right. But now, my wife isn't answering my calls and texts now after I called her a few hours after she left. And she said that she was tired of fighting to matter as much to me as my parents do. I know it's messed up that everything got to this point. But honestly, if she hadn't started yelling like that and dragged her friends into it, maybe it wouldn't have blown up. Am I the butthole for asking her to leave instead of them? OP is such a passive, spineless loser. His way of solving it is saying, "Hey guys, could you please not do that?" And then when they do it anyways, he's like, "I don't know, I'm all out of ideas. After all, it's my dad's roof, so what choice do I have?" Yo, this guy's a doofus. I know, I'll whisper to my parents. That'll fix things. Our next Reddit post is from the Prophesizer. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I ruined my wife's life. She's 26. When I came into the picture, she pretty much had her life nearly perfect. She had her business in full swing, and it was incredibly successful. She had her very active hobbies, which she partook in every day, and blended it well with her work. She was very fit and in great shape, which was maintained in part by her being active in her hobbies. She was really happy with life. Then I came along. We fell in love basically immediately, and within a couple of months, she ended up pregnant. She was nervous, but I was ecstatic. She had the baby because she knew how badly I wanted a family. The pregnancy was hard on her energy-wise. It pretty much exhausted her to the point where she couldn't do any of her hobbies, which were all activity-based, so that was off to a bad start. As the pregnancy went on, her self-image took a plunge as her athletic body grew. Even though she bounced back to her pre-pregnancy weight, she says she can barely even stand to look at herself in the mirror anymore. Giving birth was traumatizing. 36 hours of labor, her epidural failed so she had to suffer through it naturally. Last-minute complications made it so they had to unexpectedly reach in and pull out our son, which was incredibly painful for her. And then the hospital staff basically abandoned her to her own devices. They didn't show her how to clean herself or anything. She had to YouTube it. They also completely forgot to give her her prescription pain meds for a disability the full 5 days that we were there. So she suffered bad withdrawals, and ultimately they cut her off of them. We came home and our maid basically let the house get filthy. The maid also let my wife's service dog out in the rain and then didn't dry him like instructed. So the service dog got skin infections, which led to expensive vet bills. Yeah, we fired the maid. Then I had to go back to work right away because my job didn't offer paternity leave because of how new I was. And our baby is colicky, so it was hell on my wife to manage him while still trying to heal. And then when my wife did try to start her business back up, turns out it's almost undoable with a screaming newborn. And we previously were led to believe that we could balance it between naps and such, but that wasn't the case at all. So my mother moved in to help watch the baby while my wife, the breadwinner, worked to keep a roof over our heads and I worked to keep us insured. Now we found out that my wife is pregnant again, which I of course am thrilled about, but my wife of course dreads. I also had a big falling out with my mother who was getting controlling over how we raised our kids and tried to shut out my wife. So now she isn't in the picture. And because we need my insurance for the next baby, things are boiling down to my wife having to give up the business that she built to be a stay-at-home mom, which she hates. So basically, I came into my wife's perfect life and 1. Put an end to her hobbies, 2. Ruined her self-image, 3. Crippled her business, 4. Stripped away her identity, and 5. Put her through a traumatic event that may mentally scar her for her whole life. And to top it all off, before people say, "But you gave her a son," she doesn't love him. Every time she sees him is a reminder of how she was mistreated in the hospital. Every time he cries, he's a reminder of how she lost her business because of him. Every time he cries and wakes her up in the night, it's a reminder that her happy life is gone. I ruined everything that she loved, and she knows it. I hate knowing that I'm the worst thing that ever happened to her. What I want to know is, if the wife was making more money, why didn't OP quit and be a stay-at-home dad instead of her quitting? That doesn't make any sense. Just because OP gets insurance through his job? So what? If she makes more money, you can just buy insurance out of pockets. Also, Reddit looked into OP's profile, and he is constantly talking on gaming subreddits. Through that, Reddit found the wife's profile, who constantly posts on regretful parents subreddits. So that tells you a lot about their parenting dynamic. Our next Reddit post comes from rSlash, which is a subreddit about books that are both romantic and fantastical. Help! An author is suing me for saying that her book is AI in a review. A few months ago, I read a book that was recommended here, and I found an obvious AI line. Quote, "Let out a breath she didn't know that she was holding. I was suspicious right away. I kept reading and found more things that didn't even make sense. Quote, she padded across the floor, for example. That would be okay in a shifter romance, but humans don't pad. Not super true. If someone is barefoot, I think padding is very appropriate. Characters were doing generic things like dragging their hands through their hair, clenching their jaws, and arching their eyebrows. A side character's name changed too, and only for one sentence. I don't want to post my exact review because I don't know if I should be talking about this online in the first place, and I don't want to bring more attention to it. But all I said was that the book is AI, and I explained how I could tell. That's literally all I did. But the woman is suing me. I've been panic Googling for like 48 hours straight, and apparently she has to prove that what I said was false. But how can she prove she didn't use AI? I'm a grad student. I have $73 in my bank account. I can't afford to deal with this right now. I'm literally so broke that I got the book through other means. So I'm wondering if the fact that I didn't make a purchase might actually help? I know this is a stretch, but I'm in full panic mode. I have really bad anxiety, and she's a big enough author that I think she has resources to follow through. Should I message her and apologize and promise to delete the review? I would have already deleted it, but I feel like that's my only leverage at this point. Help! So she stole a book, wrote an incorrect review, and is now trying to blackmail the author. These sentences, they're generic, but they're not AI. These sentences have been around since the English language. Dragging their hands through their hair, clenched jaws? The phrase clenched jaws has been around for at least since the 90s. I'm sure much, much farther back than that. This woman's in grad school? Is she really this dumb? Our next Reddit post is from r/relationship advice. My brother is extremely frustrated right now. He hasn't had the best luck with women, and he's really super sweet, nice, and kind. He's the best brother anyone could ask for. Unfortunately, he's become very jaded with his dating woes. This has led him to hold some extremely misogynistic beliefs. I tried introducing him to new people, but it hasn't helped. Now, here's where things went south. I was wrong introducing him to my friend because he thinks all my brother's problems can be solved with the gym, and I don't think my brother felt heard. My friend and my brother got into an argument because my brother allegedly said that he's going to start forcing himself on women because the way women all sleep with the same man is unsustainable and eventually people will be fed up. I should note that when I confronted my brother, he wouldn't confirm if he said it, so I still don't know for sure. This is just what my friend said. But I don't deny, my brother needs help. And unfortunately, my friend is telling everyone what my brother said, which further isolates him and is the last thing he needs. I don't know, man. If he's gonna start hurting women, then maybe he should be separated from women. Maybe it's the first thing he needs. I can understand being frustrated, but when I'm frustrated, I don't know, chocolate and overeat as a coping mechanism, or vent to my wife about it, or feel really sad for a while and impulse buy a video game, I don't, commit a felony. That was rSlash Am I the Devil, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.